What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Table That Discussion here on Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm your host, Howard Bender, and I've got a saucy panel of guests here again. Yeah, that's right. Look at them all. Justin Fensterman, Jon Impemba, Adam Ronis, and the always wonderful, always lovely Jen Piacenti. And I only say that because I don't want to get kicked out of the Piacenti family and not get me some pizza.
That's fine. I'll take it, however.
How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Just nodding. We're good. We're all right.
Another day in the quarantine life here, Howard. We're just waiting for our primary sports to come back. We do at least have some UFC, to watch tonight. But it's not baseball, it's not basketball, hockey, or football. So
raise your hand if you're playing DFS MMA tonight. All right, there you go. Right, half the panel playing MMA DFS. Maybe I'll throw in a lineup here just to give us the advantage. Adam and I talked fantasy on Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk yesterday. I know he's not into it. Jen, no MMA for you? You don't get down with the grapplers?
No, not really. Not my thing.
No, too macho for you?
Yeah, I don't like people's faces getting beat up. It makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
Like I don't want to see you look ugly. I don't want to see you. I worry about that you're going to have to visit a plastic surgeon and what's your mama going to think when she sees you. It breaks my heart.
All right. Well, then we'll just black out Adam Ronis for the rest of the time here.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
it's
that one was for you, Fensty. Come on.
Dude, I'm letting you have the floor for this one. I give him enough grief.
Oh, man. Well, it's been a week since we've all convened, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. But before we get to the meat and potatoes, and we have to start talking serious sports stuff, what have you guys been doing? I want to know. What's the most exciting thing you've done in quarantine since last we saw you? Ladies first, Jen.
All right. Well, it's a toss-up between the Starbucks on my corner opened this morning, and I was able to place an order on my app, put on a mask, walk down to the corner, pick up a pre-ordered thing, and walk back to my place. That was pretty exciting. And I do have to say, I did get a tip from the security guard at the Starbucks of where to have the best Chinese food in Thousand Oaks. So, whenever I'm free to drive an hour and a half, now I have that very valuable information. And then the second thing I did that was kind of interesting is I got in the car on Saturday and I just drove to Malibu and drove around neighborhoods and drove around the beach and looked at all the things that I could be doing. And then I drove home.
Did you come back a little sad and depressed?
No, I did.
All right. Adam, how about you? Something exciting that you've done now, or was at least the most exciting thing that you've done since the last time we saw you here?
There's something I don't know if it's appropriate for this show, so
sure,
I don't know.
Just listen. If you can't say the word, rhyme it.
I got a woman to kind of be a stripper on video.
Oh, okay. All right. You kind of got it, so you used your credit card.
She did. So that was probably the most exciting thing. And
was it like the whole enchilada, or was it just like chips and salsa?
No, it was everything. It was everything. Did you go to
Real Fiesta?
What?
Who do you feel won that? Her or you? Like, if it was
I feel you won this one, Jen. I think you won.
I think we both won, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
There you go. All right. Rhymes with smaculation? Great. Okay, super. That's not an image I don't think anybody wanted, Adam.
I told you, and you said say it. So I'm saying it.
All right. Well,
look, we went. Jen's excited to get a damn coffee. I mean, we're here. I mean, Howard is like, for real. Honestly, I was gonna say, on food right now, it is one of the most exciting things. If you can get a good meal, there's a great Italian place by me. But I've been going there for the whole time they've stayed open. So that's not the last week. That's been going on. I did see my mom on Mother's Day. First time in 2 months I saw her. So there you go. There's another one.
All
That's
right.
good.
Well, speaking of food and seeing your mom on Mother's Day, let's go over to Chef Jon Impemba. What's up, Chef? Talk to me here. You've been dazzling everybody with your recipes on the Fantasy Alarm Show. Your Derrick Henry Buffalo Chicken Cheese Balls were a smash success, and I do know that you spent some time with Mom on Sunday as well.
I did. I visited my mother on Mother's Day, visited my girlfriend's parents on Mother's Day as well. And we also got a backyard set. We got some tables, some chairs, an umbrella. We're going to be setting up the grill this weekend because we're finally getting some nice weather here in Massachusetts. So while we can't go out anywhere, we're going to kind of enjoy our backyard area. We've got a fire pit going, the whole shebang. So trying to make the best of the situation right now.
The whole shebang. That was what Adam was doing. I thought you were talking about something else here.
Yeah.
Fensty, how about you giggling SOB? What's going on, you old so-and-so?
Yeah, you know what? My little Jeff Locke or whatever you want me to call you at this point, I don't know. I just made up. I thought that was a picture. Maybe I was wrong. But anyway, I'm loving this conversation right now about Adam Ronis' love life. It's one of my favorite things to reference on the show from time to time. I don't know how I could beat Adam. So I guess, you know what I'll say? The most fun thing I've done in the last week was actually yell at Adam Ronis on the show on Alarm After Hours last night for about 23 minutes. And it was just so much fun. We had a nice back and forth. We were getting pretty loud. It hadn't been that way for a long time. We mainly do it during sweats of live games. But Ronis, I really enjoyed our yelling at each other last night.
Yeah, no, it's always fun to have a debate and go back and forth. I think that's better radio. I've talked to Howard about this, and it should be organic. It shouldn't be forced, but I think debate is good when you get two different sides and, people can sit there and judge and make their opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you, Adam. I agree with you. 100%. 100%. Nope.
Fail.
How many times do you hear that on shows? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I agree. I think you're right. I agree. I think you're right. Absolutely. 100%. Verbal retweet. Yes. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right. Well, so Fensty, that was the most exciting thing you did. Nice little back and forth argument with Adam Ronis on air. I like it. Let's get some creativity flowing, people. Creativity. That's what it's all about, right? Like I'm sitting here, I'm in process of developing a new character, right? For the times that we live in, right? At some point, you guys might end up meeting Quarantoni, who's really having a tough time during this shelter-in-place order. I don't know when Quarantoni will make an appearance. Currently, right now, he is writing an all-male version of Evita called Avito, with the top song being Don't Cry For Me, Quarantina. Jen, I'm going to consult with you on all of that at some point or another. But
I'd be surprisingly good for you on that one. If anybody picked up that one, then you're a real musical theater nerd.
I guess I'm not.
No.
Damn.
Good for you.
Good try, though. It was a hell of a try. Hell of a try. Well, there you go. I might have to. I have to turn my hat around like Fensty, though, if I was gonna hey, you doing? I'm Tony. I'm Quarantoni, right? You drinking them Coronas? No, not me. Domestic beer all the way. All the way. In any event, well, there you go. So not really the most exciting group you are, but, listen,
Wait a second. What the hell are you doing that's so exciting? What do you want us to do?
Well, let's see. Argue with Ronis, that's every day. I went to Starbucks. Ooh.
Not every day.
No, I don't do Starbucks any day, actually. I got a Keurig machine at home like any other normal shut-in.
Is the best place to get Chinese food in Thousand Oaks? No.
No.
Share with you.
No. What's the name of the place?
It's called Golden Dragon.
Is it, though?
It is. That's what the security guard told me, and he seems to know. He also knows where to go for Whiskey Tuesdays. He told me he can give me a place to go for every day of the week.
Did he ask to take you out?
Yeah.
No, he didn't, but he does greet me regularly and want to talk a lot. So,
how many of these suggested places all have the exact same address, which also happens to be where he lives?
It also involves an apartment number. Basement. Did Ryan Hallam just join the live stream? Did you guys see his penchant for serial killers? Like, what's up with that? We can talk about that later.
We can definitely talk about that later. In the meantime, though, this is a show that we are going to blend some sports into it. We obviously know there's not a lot going on, but listen, we can talk about it. There's the first order of business. I heard this on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio last night on Lisa Ann's show. And Adam, I don't know if you listened to Lisa Ann's Fantasy Dirt show with Michael Fabiano, or if you or just sitting in a jealous rage that she's hosting with somebody else again.
She's been hosting with other people for a while, so how can I be jealous?
I know, it's so hurtful sometimes, though.
It's not hurtful. I'm the originator. She even said it. She's like, that's the brand show, and it's been there since day one, so it's all good.
We might have to incorporate the freeze here on the Table That Discussion live stream, John. I don't know about you. Nevertheless, on the show last night, they had Austin Eckler, who was a guest. And Eckler... there's some very interesting stuff. Now, LA County came out yesterday saying that the county officials are recommending that they extend the shelter in place through the end of July, basically a 3-month thing, May, June, and July. Eckler started talking about the fact that he's having trouble keeping up with his workouts. He knows a lot of other players are having trouble keeping up with their workouts. He's very afraid that people aren't going to be in shape when it comes time to start the football season if it happens. But then... on top of that, he went back and also said that if this shelter-in-place order happens, there's a good chance that there might not even be an NFL season in 2020. Alarming for many people here. So I'll start with the always chatty Jon Impemba. Chef, talk to me here. What you got cooking on this story here as far as Eckler goes, and do you fear the possibility of a cancellation of the 2020 NFL season?
I'm not worried about a cancellation of the 2020 NFL season. I'm sure they'll figure it out by the time the season does kick up. I mean, unlike the other sports where they're in a holding situation or they're already delayed, like the NFL season is still 3-4 months away from actually beginning. There could be a delay to that if they have to push training camp back a little bit. But at least they're giving themselves a little bit more time for when the NFL season begins. Plus, other states are opening up and other states are saying, hey, bring your professional organization to our, to our city, to our state. We'll find a place for them to play. I think Florida just came out and said that, like, you can bring all the baseball teams where states aren't allowing them to go ahead and play. Bring them to Florida. We'll find a home. I'm sure the NFL and football organizations would be willing to do the same. So for me, football at least is my least concern. You hear rumors of other sports, the NBA asking players maybe if they actually want to return, whether or not that was a true story or not. We know the MLB season has a set date for July, but, the players union still kind of pushing back on that. So at least for me, the NFL has more of a leeway to begin their year, and I think there's a better chance for them to actually play.
Fensty, in the wake of Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal saying just crash the entire rest of the 2020 NBA season, could the NFL follow suit, or are you with John in the sense that there's still so much time left to go before we even have to start up?
Yeah, I think the fact that the schedule has been released shows that they're going to do whatever it takes to push the season through. And if that means a delay, I'm more worried about a delay because I just like my normal fantasy football window that I'm used to. Anything normalcy related, I'll take at this point. But I'll also accept a 4-week delay, which I know is the current contingency plan if there's a second wave with this. So I don't think there's going to be a cancellation of either the NFL or the NBA.
Jen, you're down in LA County right now.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're not, whooping it up with the Golden Dragon over in Thousand Oaks. And by that, we mean a stalker who's going to wear you as a skin suit. The question is what do you think? What happens to LA, Jen? If this actually happens, it's got to push the Rams out. It's got to push the Chargers out. It's going to push the Dodgers out. I don't know if Anaheim is part of LA County.
Yeah, well, actually, no, they're not. They're Orange County. But the fact is that Orange County actually has had the most new cases more than LA County. So, and people in Orange County are taking it a little less seriously than people in LA County, I think. I think the problem here is that, California is such a big state. So statewide, we are having some things available. Like the governor did let us have some pickup available. Pet grooming is allowed again. Woo. I don't know how important that was. Car washes are available. And I think what's going to happen is that there's still a lot of hope. But the actual technical thing was there will be some level of stay at home through July. Some level could mean a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily mean they can't play sports without fans. Nothing like that was said. And so I think they're just watching what's going to happen. And, you know, with the warmer weather, the virus could decrease. So I think that it's possible they could still be able to train in June, July. But as Jon said, there are options. If they have to move out, if they have to move to Texas or Florida, those states would be happy to welcome them if it could keep the season moving forward.
Okay. Now, one of the things we are seeing is states are starting to open up a little bit, but now we're seeing other countries who are starting to shut down again because they are seeing a spike. Is this like just an LA County overreaction? Or do you think it's right now it's kind of necessary? I wasn't speaking to you, Jen. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you are. You're always talking to me.
I'm talking to Pornhub. Hey, Pornhub. Talk to me here. Is this an overreaction to what's going on in other countries?
Probably a little. Look, no one knows anything. That's the problem, is that, you know, people are trying to be cautious and they just don't know long term what's going to happen. So that's the biggest problem right now, is I think you're going to have certain states take extreme caution and others are going to be more liberal and open up. So it's a tough situation right now. And I think the NFL, we've seen it already. They're going to do whatever they can to go forward. And I think they are already prepared to push the season back potentially to mid-October. You know, they set up the schedule where week 2, all the teams have common buys, and they're ready to just take weeks 1 through 4 and put it to the end of the schedule. But to me, Eckler sounds like a guy who's been lazy and has been slacking, and he wants it to be pushed back. No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, right? I mean... We're not talking about model citizens here in the NFL, and we've seen a number of guys who take time off or who end up coming into camp like super fat, expecting, you know, them to actually, you know, work the extra weight off and get themselves back into game shape here. Let's fast forward 2 months from now. Forget 3 months from now. Let's talk about mid-July, like mid-July for the NFL season to kind of start up on time. You need mid-July camp to open up at the earliest here. Do you guys see that actually happening here? Or do we see maybe that, you know, it's just smarter business to push the NFL season back a couple of weeks?
I think it gets pushed back.
Yeah. Do you think they need a full camp? You know, do you think they need or do you think they would do something sort of an abbreviated camp? Maybe this year they would do an extended practice squad, an extended, roster size like other leagues have discussed. Because this is going to be like an unconventional season, really, regardless, even if the NFL is closer to being as more normal than others. So, I could see a case where maybe they extend rosters or, practice squads and whatnot to allow for more development time or more leeway for teams. I mean, they already allowed a draft without team visits, there's already kind of an unconventional year. So it wouldn't surprise me like other leagues for the NFL to potentially alter some things also.
Nah, they need to have a camp, especially with no off season. They have to, just like the NBA, when they come back, they're going to have, some time to prepare. Spring training is going to open back up. So especially with all the off season events canceled. And that's the biggest thing that in fantasy, it's going to be crazy for all sports because we have no idea what these guys are doing. For sure. There's some guys at home drinking, smoking, eating. I mean, it happens during the season. I don't know if you guys read the Sammy Watkins article on Bleacher Report. Everyone's talking about the aliens and all the stuff he says. What I took out of that was Sammy Watkins was a player that I was on for years because of the talent. He was one of the most talented receivers to come out of that class. And he flashed at times, but there are other times you're like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he hurt? Well, he said it. And these are things we don't see as fantasy owners. He was drinking and smoking every single night. And he said it took a toll on his body. So that's one of the things in fantasy we don't see. There's guys that go through divorces, off the field stuff, and we have no clue about it. One of Sammy Watkins' best friends said he had no idea that he was depressed and everything he was going through. So now it's going to be magnified here because we have the rookies. These rookies, we don't know what they're doing. They're younger. They could be playing video games all day, eating, not taking care of the body. Like, oh, well, I don't have a start date. I don't need to worry about this. So it's just going to make all sports, NBA, MLB, NFL, insane because there's going to be a lot of unforeseen things and a lot of luck is going to come into play. You can take as much time to prepare, break down, look at statistics. This is something we have never seen before.
Can we cancel the NFL preseason? maybe that will help, because then you don't have to put two teams together at the same time in case we're still that worried about the second wave hitting one of the teams. You keep the teams solo by themselves. Who cares about the preseason? Just extend the camp and then go right to the regular season in September if everything goes as it is kind of now.
2-3 weeks really make a difference? If you're scared to have them play a preseason game 2 to 3 weeks before the year, what's going to change in 3 weeks, 2 weeks?
Dude, you know what? We're living week by week right now, man. I'll take whatever space I can get. If I can get a few more weeks of pad, why not?
Yeah, again, no one really knows, but I don't see how you go from 2 weeks like, oh, we can't have these teams play each other, and then 2 weeks like, yeah, let's start the season now. We're good to go. It doesn't seem feasible.
Does this concern you guys? Like, Adam, I know you're a high stakes player. John, I know you love to jump into the DFS world. Jen and Fancy, I don't know what you guys like to do as far as putting your money where your mouth is when it comes to fantasy sports. But does all of this kind of deter you from making that investment? Like, every year I do the Golden Nugget contest and I do the Westgate Super contest where I'm picking, against the spread, and I'm picking anywhere from like 5 to 7 games a week in order to make that happen. Do I really want to make that kind of an investment knowing that this season could be as big a bust as it all? Jen, do you do a lot of gambling on sports?
I don't do a lot, but I do a little. And I'm not afraid to gamble on football right now. It hasn't come to that level yet. But for baseball, yeah, I don't want to play in any high stakes leagues, no matter what. Even if they come back for 82 games and I know they're playing with the DH, and I know they're playing in divisions or whatever, I don't care, because baseball is supposed to be, in my mind, a long season. It's half the season, too much luck involved, and I don't want to put a lot of money on it. Now, would I do a lot of small bets? Probably, because one of them will probably pay off just because of the luck factor, and it'll make it fun, but I'm not going to do any high stakes anything.
Fancy, how about you?
I'm not going to do a high stakes anything either, but I will still enter DFS. I will still gamble on games, especially in the playoffs, where if we do end up having the playoffs, I think we'll put wagerers at a more advantageous spot once we're in a series and you can see the complexion of the series. And that's where I know Ronis and you and I will be all over that. So, Howard, I'll still place bets. I don't mind that. The only thing I worry about with this whole thing from the fantasy standpoint, rookies. With all these skill position rookies that were just drafted, I'm worried as hell about their conditioning.
Chef, how about you? You going to just keep scratching that itch?
So I don't think I'd probably do any baseball this year. I've already done a couple like slow drafts early in the year, but it comes to actually like investing. My home league has sort of been the same conversation. Like, how do we go about doing it? For DFS purposes, I may dabble once I get more of a sample size, but it's definitely not going to be what it's like been in years past for me with baseball. Football, again, I'll have to take a wait and see approach and how everything rolls out. If they do get a little bit of time to practice, if they get even a preseason game here or there, maybe I'd be more open to a little bit of normalcy. But for me, I'm probably out on baseball at this point.
How about you, Adam? You got baseball, you got football, high stakes, best ball, all these options in front of you. Are you diving in still?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of football, best ball drafts now. I still plan to do the high stakes football because most of those drafts are done in August anyway. So obviously we'll have a better idea of what's going on at that time. As for baseball, I've already done a couple leagues, so I don't plan to redraft them. So those will stick. I don't see myself jumping in high dollars for 82 games because it's just, baseball to me is a long season, 162 games, 6 months. We're going to have guys that how many guys do we see get hot for 3 months that were like, what? And then they tail off in the second half. Now they could win you championship.
Riley?
Yeah. Jose Ramirez has been one of the most hot hitters we've seen over the last 2 years. So you're just going to have a lot of randomness, I think. So baseball, I probably will get in a draft or two, but nothing crazy, high dollars, not for 82 games.
All right, let's stick with we'll table that discussion on the how much you're willing to spend because obviously, yes, we will have to wait and see when things do start up and what the availability is. Let's talk a little NFL fantasy football action here. And one obviously a hot topic are Superflex leagues. Everybody loves Superflex, and I get it all the time. Superflex Dynasty, Superflex Redraft. Everybody wants to do Superflex, which obviously to me is just basically, you might as well just say it's a 2 QB league for that point. But listen, we've gone from fantasy football to now PPR tends to be more of the standard as opposed to a standard league. Now the question is are we getting ready to this point where we should just make everything a super flex league? Like, should we do that? Super flex leagues, no matter what, and just make that the norm? Chef, I'll start with you.
So, I mean, I've only been in a couple of super flex leagues. I mean, I don't know. I've never really been a huge fan of the idea of being able to, use the super flex as 2 quarterbacks. The one league I actually was in for a little bit, that was a super flex league. I never really used the quarterback as that second flex option. Everybody would take all these quarterbacks early in drafts, and it would allow like elite skill position players to fall back to me. So I was like loading up at like top tier receivers and running backs. I was actually able to have success in that level. I think everybody sort of gets blinded by the idea of being able to roster 2 quarterbacks at times. And I understand you can certainly go ahead and get 2 elite, but more often than not, you're getting a really good quarterback and then like a so-so quarterback for the most part in drafts. So like, is your 15-point quarterback really better than getting an elite running back or wide receiver that's falling because everybody's going early on that? So for me, it's not a league set that I play often. It's one that I have at least had a little bit of success in, but it's not one I'm seeking out to make the new norm.
All right, Adam, super flex or not super flex? What's your preference?
Well, first of all, I don't think there's a normal fantasy ideal setting for any sport. I mean, you can't tell me, what is the most popular for football. There's so many different ones. So I think you just have it as an option. If people want to do it, they do it. I don't think you're ever going to have a consensus like, well, this is the ideal. You get the questions. Oh, I'm in half-point PPR. I'm in full-point PPR, quarter-point PPR, 2 tight ends we start. There's everything. So I played in a couple super flex leagues. I did one industry draft last year where we were a super flex league. I've been in that one for a few years, and it's cool. I prefer to play in 1 quarterback leagues, but I understand why the super flex league is gaining traction. It's just too easy in a 1 quarterback league. You can just wait on your quarterback forever, and you'll figure out a way to find a good quarterback. And there's always a few that emerge off waivers. So I understand the push for the super flex league. So I play in a variety of leagues, so I'm okay with it. I don't think it should be the standard. I don't know if it ever becomes popular. I don't know if the masses will be appeased by that. So I don't think it should be standard. Just like anything, you should just have an option to choose what you want to play in.
How about you, Jen? Super flex leagues, do you prefer them over just a single quarterback league? And if so, any interesting strategies where you kind of flip the script on the norm, especially when you see a home league that just jumps at the quarterback position?
So I don't prefer them over traditional league. I prefer a 1 quarterback league. However, I'm currently drafting in a 2 quarterback league, and I was just astounded to see, like, I had the 3rd pick. I took Zeke, and the 4th pick, run of quarterbacks right away. And I was like, what? And I come back around and I said, you know what? I'm just going to stash running backs. It's a dynasty. So I got Josh Jacobs. And I'm still able to get, quarterbacks later that are just fine. I just don't think that the relative advantage you're getting at that position. Yeah, of course, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are elite. When you start talking about Josh Allen, yeah, he's really good, but is he that much better than getting Josh Jacobs necessarily? I think it's a lot harder to replace a workhorse back, and that there's a lot of positional scarcity if you think of it that way. How many running backs right now own their backfield? How many wide receivers can you count on? So I like it in that I feel like people freak out too much when they get the other quarterback and they start making swaps and trades and they want to get all these quarterbacks. And then you look at the rest of their team and you're like, look, you don't really have a solid guy in your backfield. You have these quarterbacks. Okay. But so I think it's a dangerous thing. And I think we'll learn more as they get more popular as far as how to do strategies. I do think you have to take a quarterback earlier, but seriously, seeing like 5 quarterbacks go in round 1.
Fancy, everybody seems to be of the mindset of waiting on the position still. You see a lot of people jump at, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I mean, whether it's redraft or how about dynasty even, people start jumping on guys like Joe Burrow and Tua. Are you of that mindset also? Let's wait on the position and focus more on the skill players.
yes, especially coming off of last season where it was just so hard to find a running back on that waiver wire. And it just showed me on my teams, most of my teams, I won title. But outside of that, I wasn't invested enough in the position, the running back position. And that's where my focus is more in my drafts in any format. I don't like super flex leagues because it kills the waiver wire pool for quarterbacks. It either forces me to draft 2 or 3 quarterbacks, or I'm screwed if I lose one. Then I'm at a big disadvantage. And I understand injuries happen in fantasy football, but there's going to be no waiver wire pool for quarterbacks. And I never have been into the 2 quarterback and super flex leagues.
Now, how do you guys all handle being on the end? Like once you're in the middle, when a run happens, you can either choose to jump in on the run or you can avoid it if you don't, depending on where you are. Drafting 4th or 5th is a lot different than drafting 6th or 7th when you're talking about a 12-team league. When you're on the opposite sides of the draft and that happens, do you feel like you might have to prioritize it a little bit more for fear that a run will definitely take you out of it? Go to Sticky Hands Ronis with this one.
First of all, I do think that people overreact on the quarterback. Like the super flex league I did last year, I didn't take my first quarterback to round 5, and I was able to finish with the 1 seed and make the championship. Lost in the championship, but anything, we know once you get to playoffs, anything could happen. But I mean, part of it is I nailed my first 4 picks, which is never going to happen all the time. It was Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, George Kittle, Chris Godwin, and then my quarterbacks were Cousins and Trubisky. So obviously not very good. But the rest of my team was really good. I think when you're picking on the ends, it's tough. You have to make that decision, and you're probably going to have to at least reach for 1 quarterback because the run's going to happen. And like I'm in a draft now, it's not super flex, but I'm picking 2, and I look back at what I did in round 2, and I wish I would have went in a different direction. But that's hindsight. That's seeing how the drafts develop. Because like Raheem Mostert would have come back to me. And instead, I went with the running back in round 2, and I wish I would have went 2 wide receivers. But that's seeing it after the fact. So there's always going to be a little bit of regret because you see the results. You got to make the smart decision at that time. And in a super flex league, the quarterbacks are going to go. So you're probably going to have to take one early, especially if you're picking 12. If there's a quarterback there, you like them. You take a running back and a quarterback because on the way back you're not going to get someone you want. But then the second quarterback you can wait on a little bit. But yeah, on the end, you have to be more aggressive because a huge run is going to come. And you have to make sure that you're comfortable missing out on a top 12, top 15 quarterback if you pass.
Yes, Justin, how may I help you?
Yes,
I appreciate you raising your hand. You know what? This isn't school. I mean, don't talk over somebody, but, feel free to just jump right in. Just shout them out when you know it. There you go. Bushes. Great. Now.
I was going to say to help you play your own prevent defense against runs in fantasy. This is the importance of creating your own personal draft tiers before the draft, because how I would handle something like this with quarterbacks as someone who always waits, I'll target a certain quarterback. I'll pick a certain quarterback who's the lowest of a certain tier that I'd want. Let's just say it's Matt Ryan. Then we'll see where the run is at. And if I'm thinking that Matt Ryan is going to go in that run, then that signals me that I should probably take the quarterback at this point. Tiers help keep you in that mindset and help you make that balanced team, because it shows you literally on the paper, hey, you don't have to respond to every run if you have certain guys that could still be available and keep you afloat for a round or 2.
I mean, it's dictated by the draft room. That's basically what it is, and you could see it like in certain drafts, like the average draft, that's a super flex, 2 quarterback. The quarterbacks fly off the board. I think in the industry, it's a little bit different. Like the Scott Fishbowl last year was a super flex, essentially, right? You could start 2 quarterbacks. And the one I was in, people kind of waited on quarterbacks. So if you read that, you were able to say, all right, I see what this draft is doing. I'm going to hold out, and you'll still get 2 quarterbacks. And I came away in that one with Lamar Jackson and Jameis Winston.
So I think what Adam's saying is really true. Like, it's so much about reading the room in any sport when you're drafting, and every draft is completely different, and you have to be able to respond, and you have to be able to stick to your strategy, but know how to pivot and kind of have some contingency plans. And that's why it's really important to do as many mock drafts as possible. You need to try, super flex. You need to try 12 team. You need to try 10 team. It's a big, big difference. And see how other people are going to draft. And there's going to be some that you're going to come out and you're going to be like, wow, that was really easy. And others are going to be like, I didn't know what to do. And you need to figure out who's important to me. What do I want to make sure I have at the end? And how will I respond if this happens again? So practice before you put big money on it.
Now, John, how do you go about, like, I know you and I have talked poker over and over again. Reading the way somebody bets is, something that you have to do because you're sitting in the online world and we're not, sitting at the same table together. So when you're sitting there and you're trying to read the room, so to speak, obviously you can see if quarterbacks are going off the board early, but when you're picking from the ends, do you agree with Adam saying you need to be aggressive when you're at the ends there? Because it's kind of tough to read what people are going to do if you've never drafted with them before and you can't look them in the eye.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of agree with everybody's points here at various levels. Like, I agree that you should mock out your strategies. I always harp that in pretty much any draft guide article that I write. Practice every single strategy you can to be prepared for it. I agree with Fancy when you have to have tiers so you kind of understand, like, all right, X, Y, and Z are off the board now. The next best player on my board is here. And then I agree, with Adam where it's like, all right, if a run of quarterbacks just went, you don't want to be left in the dust either. So for me, I'm definitely one where especially when at the end of the draft or end of a round where I see maybe 3 or 4 quarterbacks just went down. I look where, my rankings are. It's like, all right, now I'm in round 4, round 5, 4 or 5 quarterbacks come off. If I don't take a quarterback here, I now have like 20 picks in between. Odds are my quarterbacks, 6 through 9 could easily be off the board. And then, like he said, you're stuck with like a Mitch Trubisky and somebody else. So for me, I'm definitely one to follow the run. I don't want to get caught in a super draft league, super flex league like that. So for me, I would certainly target a quarterback at the end if that seems the way the draft is going. But, it's key to look at the draft boards while you're drafting, see who's taking who, what positions are available, and build your strategies that way. I think everything that we've all said here combined make pretty much a good draft strategy overall.
I'm still of the mindset that I think that the 5 of us need to do a best ball draft while we're doing an episode of Table That Discussion, be able to sit there and talk to each other in the room. Maybe we get some of like FA, we get a couple of other members of the family here. Maybe we get a couple of listeners and viewers from FA Nation and join in the fun here. I think we could actually put together a pretty good blueprint, really, for drafting at different positions and what to look at. And I guess the conversation, it wouldn't be bad, right? It would be okay. You think? Maybe?
All right. I'd be down.
Sure, be friendly.
Well, I don't know about friendly. Have you ever listened to Fensterman and Ronis go back and forth on a show?
I avoid that.
Yeah, see? She doesn't listen to you guys.
No,
Does that hurt? Does that hurt?
Ronis is used to that, Jen.
Used to what?
Women not
listening to him?
Nah, they listen to me. They're very interested.
He at the beginning of the stream,
for $9.95 a minute, dude. Of course.
I'm not paying for anything.
Yes,
you're not. You sure?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
By the way, one more thing I will say is I don't think I'm never above going around and once you find out who you're drafting with, going around and looking if they posted any of their former drafts or look at what they've done and trying to figure out who their favorite players are.
Oh, you internet stalk your opponents.
Yeah, if I have time, look, we're in quarantine. If I find out that somebody always takes Jonathan Taylor, somebody always takes Zeke, somebody always whatever, I'm not, and I know I'm coming around like, well, that person really likes him. He probably might not make it back to me and I want him. I'm not above that.
We're not stalking, Howard. We're journalists, okay? We're doing our job.
Just research.
Information as possible.
No. You guys aren't journalists, bro. Get it correct. You're not a journalist, Justin.
How are we a journalist? Do we not report on news?
No, we don't. You break news? You break news.
No.
So you're not a journalist.
Do you write about news?
You're a writer. You're not a journalist. There's a difference, bro.
Oh, my God. See what I
You're really all entertainers. I can tell you that you're all entertainers.
You really think you're a journalist, Justin?
Yeah.
You're not. You don't.
I am a journalist.
You don't cover a team. You're not a journalist.
Do we cover all teams? We're Fantasy Alarm.
Do you break news? Do you talk to coaches and players regularly? You're not a journalist.
No, but I have before, not regularly. No.
Howard broke a Marshawn Lynch bar fight one time. I mean, things happen.
Yeah, well, I didn't get in the middle of that, but nevertheless,
fantasy sports analysts are not journalists.
No, I in this point here, I have to agree with Adam in the sense that we aren't journalists. We react to the news that's presented to us by journalists. Like, that's the thing. We're not going out seeking, the intricacies of a story here. I mean, listen, maybe there are times where you can do that, and maybe Justin, maybe that's what once we get out of quarantine, that's your first assignment, is that we get journalism Justin out on the streets, breaking stories and diving deep. Can you get some NBA access there, Fensty?
I can a little bit. I mean, Pete, don't I look like a guy that you just want to give instant access to?
No, you look like the guy who, is dancing at the bar mitzvah, with no hands, and he's kicking his legs out. He's doing the Kazatsky.
Life of the party, baby. I'll take it.
Life of the party. All right. Well, let's table that discussion there for some fantasy football. Let's talk about some other things. Listen, like it or not, people, there are issues with quarantine that go beyond sports. Number one, do y'all see how fat I'm actually getting here? Like, do you actually see it? Like, I'm getting to the point where I'm like John Madden. Like, my eyes are like starting to seal up. I'm getting so fat. Like, I wish I could say that I was high, but I'm not. I'm just getting fatter and fatter.
I would tell you are not getting fat.
Jen, if you want me to just put the belly up on the desk here.
Yes.
No, I don't need any chips and salsa from Howard.
We believe you, Howard.
Thank you.
You're
so
skinny.
yeah, so let's just kind of, let's not try and kiss the boss's ass here and say,
I'm telling you, the camera adds 10 pounds and you don't look like you.
And I've got 80 cameras on me right now. 80.
Have you lost weight?
Yeah. I lost 20 pounds when I got my ear pierced. It was amazing. Nevertheless, Justin, one of the things that you've always talked about here is staying fit in quarantine. Obviously, you're scared to death that your wife doesn't want to touch you at all. No. And so you want to try and, entice her with staying in shape and being healthy during quarantine. We'll go around the room here. I know John and I will sit here last on the how to best be healthy.
What are you trying to say?
Buffalo chicken cheese balls, dude.
First of all,
how many can you eat in one sitting?
Everybody has a recipe that isn't good for them. Doesn't mean I'm sitting there eating them all day. I think I've taken down like 20 of those before, though.
Yeah,
so,
there you go. 20 in like a 5-minute span.
Like a football game, over the course of a football game,
Right. Fensty, talk to me here. What's your big tip for everybody to stay in shape and stay healthy?
Well, it all comes down to how you eat throughout the day. And you could still eat some crap if you want, but if you're going to do it in the morning or the afternoon so your body has enough time to digest it and get rid of it, essentially. So some of the things that you can eat, and these are things with high protein, egg whites. I love me some egg whites. I've talked to Jen about this 1,000 times. But here's the thing, Howard, put a little cheese in them. It's not many calories. It's pretty much a free lunch at this point when it comes to calories.
There's no calories in cheese?
No, calories in cheese a little bit, but not in egg whites. You add some veggies, you add some salsa, also no calories. That will help you as well. Something else, by the way, spaghetti squash. Howard, are you a pasta guy?
If you're going to talk to me about zoodles, dude.
No, this spaghetti, it's all about the sauce. If you have a nice hearty tomato sauce with some ground turkey in it, it's really not that bad for you at all. And think about it, the calories that you're not getting out of the noodles because it's veggies, that's right there a very low-calorie filling meal. You just need some filling meals, Howard.
I started thinking about Alfredo sauce when you started talking, so obviously I'm just not getting it.
Consistency. None of my co-hosts listen to me.
That's not true.
That's not true. Jen listens to me.
He's also going to tell you his recipe for how to beat soda, which involves salsa water. He has, and turkey bacon. He's a big component of turkey bacon.
I like turkey bacon.
I listen.
How about you, Jen? You got some tips for the rest of us to not expand our horizontal girth?
Yes. I recommend a daily dance party. Look at these guns. See? Gun show. I brought it today.
Yeah.
Daily dance party. Taylor Swift or Bruno Mars. Put them on. Dance around your living room. It'll make you feel good, and it'll make it fit. That's it. The end.
I like the dance party. Fish does a live broadcast. Well, it's not live, but they do a video broadcast of one of their shows every Tuesday night, and I stand and I dance around for that entire
You
one.
do, right? Yeah, and then when you're done, you don't feel like you've exercised, but then you sit down, you're like, oh, I kind of worked up a sweat and like my heart's beating really fast, and then
that's
then you feel good
because
about
I'm
yourself.
carrying like 300 extra pounds on me. Ronis, how about you? No softball, dude. We already know that you don't play. You can't play softball. This is one of the most detrimental things to your life.
It is.
I know you go on walks. Other tips to keep that girlish figure of yours?
Girl, figure. Are you kidding me?
What?
Howard, don't make a challenge.
I'm not making a challenge. I'm just,
we don't need a video.
With the guy a little bit here. Come on.
Because you're real fat and I'm slim. It's a
There
girl.
you go.
Come on, man. Yeah, walking for sure. I walk 3 to 4 miles a day. I think it helps too, just to take a break, clear your mind, get outside, get some fresh air. So I do that. Some push-ups, crunches, and watching what you eat. I mean, I don't drink soda at all. I had a can of soda, like half the can of soda a couple weeks ago just because it came with a meal. I didn't want it. And I looked at the can. I was like, 41 grams of sugar and Pepsi? Like, people don't realize how terrible that crap is for you. I drank soda since college, mix it with liquor and all that here and there. But, yeah, and just watch what you eat. I mean, look, you got to treat yourself to some good stuff. I just don't leave a lot of desserts and sugar stuff in the house. If it's not there, you won't eat it. It's true. If you see it there, you're going to eat it. It's happened to me. If I buy ice cream and I know it's in the freezer, I'm going to eat it. Have no ice cream in the freezer now, not going to eat it. So you just really need to have some discipline and just, try and eat a little healthier. That's all. It can be tough. It doesn't taste the good, some of it, but I had a great salad last night with no dressing, man. Avocados, tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, lettuce. It was awesome.
All right, well, Chef John, do me a favor here. Take me off of the Hostess diet that I'm on right now, and give me a better option.
So I've mentioned it already before. My girlfriend is definitely the more active one during this quarantine. She does her kickboxing class through Zoom in our living room. Her gym, they do these 21-day like weight loss challenges. They get in teams, and whoever has the most like combined weight loss challenge, they win a prize through kickboxing gym. So by default, they get put a part of these challenges as well as the house cook. I've definitely been eating a lot better since this quarantine has started, and there are actually surprisingly like some good recipes out there that are healthy for you. One of them that I actually made that her and I really enjoyed was actually a turkey chili. It was all low calorie, low salt. Ground turkey, no fat, and it actually came out pretty good, and we enjoyed that. So, all you really have to do is go online and look for recipes out there to kind of break the trend of eating poorly. We haven't done any pasta, really cutting out the carbs, cutting out the sugar. So, drinking a lot of water has been mentioned. I think that's a great idea. So it really is just small changes that everybody needs to make to their diet that I found. Since doing this, I'm down 15 pounds. So, it's clearly working. So, got to eat right.
Or you could take the Bender approach. Just eat whatever the hell you want, because we're all going to die from this coronavirus soon anyway.
True. If I can go back to last week, Howard, where you said regrets going into the quarantine, I would say having some sort of workout equipment. Don't have anything in the house to assist with that. I know a Peloton. Everybody that I know is buying a Peloton these days.
You need it. You just need a dance party, push-ups,
resistance bands.
I'm telling you.
Resistance bands are good. Yeah, I've seen those. I looked about like a weight set. Those things seem far too expensive for what they are. So I'm trying to look at some other options. Obviously, I take Emma out for a walk, but she's a 10-pound dog. She gets tired after going halfway down the road. So I got to figure out something else to do there.
Did you guys just catch Jen flexing again right there as you were talking?
I'm telling you guys, you do not need a weight. All you need is your own body resistance. That is all you need. Dancers have, not me specifically, but if you look at like a real ballet dancer, the way that their bodies, they don't even do a crunch. Everything's standing up, everything's balanced. Like there's no excuses for not being able to do something in your house. Like Adam said, you can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups, You can do planks. You can do downward dogs. You can get your cardio going too.
Yeah.
So
Oh, Ronis had that the other day. Look at that. What a folks.
That's my favorite. Downward dog.
Mine too.
it reverses the blood flow. It also makes you look younger.
It does.
It does a lot more than that, Jen.
Wow, Justin, Adam, look at this to you. Adam's like blushing now all of a sudden. Justin's like, me, I'm hearing it, and I'm like, yeah, you know, sometimes I have to bury my face in the pillow too. Oh, you didn't mean that. Oh, okay. Jon Impemba.
Yeah.
Whose guns look more diesel right now? Are they Jen Piacenti's or are they Rebecca's?
Rebecca's got some arms on her, so I'll go that direction.
Wow.
You definitely should go that direction.
Yes, Jen. That's a challenge.
Who's a better arm wrestler, you think? Who you think's got it? Jen or Rebecca?
I mean, she did kickboxing competitively when she was younger, so she's actually in pretty good shape. So I would maybe go
Howard.
that direction.
I'm not a fighter, and
He's got to say, she's probably listening there, and if he says Jennifer, he's going to get his ass kicked.
and she kickboxes, so you can't risk that.
Right.
Rebecca and I go back and forth in the DMs all the time. I know that she doesn't listen to a word John says, actually.
Wow.
No, I can't arm wrestle. My brothers try. I've arm wrestled with my brothers and my dad for forever, and they always beat me. So I don't think I could arm wrestle a woman either.
Well, all righty then. All right. Well, there you go.
I can outflank you.
Shocker. Anybody can out-fitness Bender in any. Seriously, like it's not even a competition.
Isn't there a treadmill behind that screen though, Howard? Isn't there something in that shed of yours?
Oh, you mean my clothes rack?
You mean his clothes hanger?
I was gonna say, I thought I remember you getting some equipment back there.
There is a treadmill back there. It houses a number of jackets on hangers. We got a lot of cobwebs around it as well. And
remember, I said this on this day. Bender is going to live till 90 years old, bro. Watch.
No,
he takes the least care of himself out of all of us. He's going to live to 90.
No.
You will.
I'm definitely not. And it's not a cry for help.
And I'd like to argue.
I'm hoping not to. Although I will say this.
Station.
What's that, Justin? What is that?
Sanitation station. So he is taking care of himself, kind of.
Sanitation station. I haven't been called that in years, but thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Again,
but you'll all be happy to know I haven't had a Red Bull in like 3 weeks.
Good.
See, look at you're already making changes, Howard.
Already making changes.
Positive changes.
Let's go back to some sports here. Let's talk about MLB draft strategy adjustments that you're probably making, given the early acceptance of this league's most recent plan, which is going to basically set up 3 divisions. You're going to have the NL East and the AL East merge. The Centrals will merge. The Wests will all merge. This will help with the travel schedule for that. But now you're talking about half the games. You're talking about these divisions being mixed up, a universal DH. So the question that I have for you is what do you think is the biggest adjustment that you'll make to your current draft strategy based on what we're seeing right now? I'll go to Jen first.
Well, there's going to be a lot of adjustments. One thing I think is a little strange, by the way, is I feel like if they're really trying to cut down travel, that Texas should actually be in the Central Division. It's a lot closer. Those are a lot shorter trips than flying back and forth to, Seattle or whatever. But anyway, that's another thing altogether. I think one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to bump up Twins and Indians and White Sox just a little bit more because of who they'll be playing. I think their matchups will be even easier with the NL Central, and they get to bat in Great American and Miller Park. And so those guys will get a little bit of a bump. The Dodgers will now have to play the Astros, the Angels. So I think that they'll still be good because they're so deep. Like they're one of the few NL teams that's actually set up to be really boosted by a DH. And that's another thing that we could talk about. Like, is it fair to these NL teams to put the DH on them when they're not really constructed to have a DH? So this gives, certain NL teams more advantage. So I'm going to look for those people that are going to get an advantage, like Dodgers, Mets, because I think they're set up for a DH. And then I can go into pitching. I mean, I can talk about this forever, but I'll take like all the answers.
Okay. I got you. Fency, how about you? Strategy that you're employing, if you're doing a baseball draft, what adjustment are you making from what your normal plan is?
Yeah, I was actually going to be going in on pitching, starting pitching a little bit more before this all happened. Now that's out of there. Now I'm going to devalue pitching just a little bit. I'll be waiting until about probably the 5th or 6th round before I really start to focus on it in most circumstances. Done a lot of mock drafts. Fewer innings, and again, I think the demand itself will go down. So with that, I'm going to focus on it more in the middle rounds than worrying about it in the 3rd round that I have to take a starter.
Okay, Adam?
I think obviously you're going to get some players in the NL get a little bit of a boost because now they have the ability to DH. There might have been some question marks about certain players. What's their playing time going to be? And again, none of this is official too. We have to understand that. This is just the proposed plan right now. But, a guy like J.D. Davis, people were concerned about playing time. There's no need to worry about that. If they're going to have a DH, he's going to play pretty much every day. So you can push him up if you're high on him. And I think actually you got to push closers up the board. If it's only going to be 82 games, usually we go, well, this guy's going to lose his job. I think the stable closers, and there's not many of them, but I think like the top 10 closers, you got to push them up because, they're going to probably, if they're established closers, they're going to be given long leashes, but you can't sit there and wait around and go, oh, yeah, I'll find a closer later. We don't have time. We just don't have time. So I think some of the top closers get pushed up the board.
Great point. John, final word on that?
I mean, again, I kind of agree with a little bit of everything, but Fancy devaluing pitching a little bit. I think some of the National League pitchers now, knowing that there's a DH, they may not get pulled as early. So maybe some of those guys who are usually, the 5 or 6 inning pitchers because the teams double swap or they have to get another hitter in their place. Maybe add a little bit of value there because now they're able to go longer in games because there is no they don't need to be removed for a hitter. So maybe there's some advantage there. I definitely think, like you said, targeting some of those National League teams that have deeper rosters where you maybe thought there was going to be a platoon in the outfield. Well, now that guy's likely going to DH. I see a lot of people writing articles and throwing like Ryan Braun out there as their cover image on Twitter. Someone like that. Cespedes is someone I've seen mentioned now potentially getting a boost as a DH now. So, yeah, I kind of agree with, again, everybody's point as a whole. And, again, I maybe look a little bit harder at some of these National League setting pitchers that tend to throw fewer innings seemingly because they get lifted.
I have a question.
There you go.
Does it change who you think should be number 1 now that Mike Trout might be batting in, Colorado and Acuna might be playing a lot more Yankees and Rays? Like, does it change? Like those top 3, we've been debating them all season. Like, how do we feel? Is Christian Yelich? I mean, I was kind of coming down on the Christian Yelich. I liked him number 1. But like, does that change your top 3? Like, who would you take first now, Howard? If it goes forward as they say, would you take Trout, Acuna, or Yelich?
For me, I've been on the Trout as number 1 the entire time. I took him in the FSGA back in January. Remember that draft?
Remember.
January. I ended up taking him there as well. So for me, it's still going to be Trout. It's always going to be Trout. I know, Adam, you were on the Christian Yelich bandwagon there as well with him. Does that kind of convince you even more so now, knowing the AL Central teams he's going to be facing?
Yeah, I probably lean him. He gets to face the Royals, and we know there's a couple bad teams in that division. Indians still have some good pitchers. Twins starting pitching's okay. Their bullpen's good.
Tigers
get the Tigers and Royals in that division as well. So, with Yelich, I think the time off helps him. There was some concern about his back, which has given him issues over the last couple of years. So he's had this extended layoff. Certainly the knee now is fine. You could point out and say the Brewers lineup is not as good as it once was, but it's still solid near the top, especially if Lorenzo Cain can bounce back. Braun can still hit even though he's older. But Yelich has been one of the best hitters in baseball the last 2 years. And again, I've been saying this since January. I have no idea why people were not including him in the conversation for 1 or 2. And in Tout Wars, I took him number 2. I know it's an OBP league, but I took him ahead of Acuna. And probably people thought I was nuts because everyone was taking Acuna 1. But, Acuna, has 40-40 upside. But I don't think he has the batting average that Yelich can give you. I mean, Yelich is in a great home park, great park for lefties. And again, look at what he's done the last 2 years. And he was always good in Miami. We just didn't see the power. Part of that probably is the change in the baseball, but also elevating the ball a little bit more. Yelich is a guy that still only has a fly ball rate around 30%. this guy ever hit 40% fly ball rate, who knows? And I just feel like, I don't know why, like people just forgot like what Yelich did. Or maybe, I guess it's because Acuna is just so tantalizing. He's got such big upside. I think the issue with Trout is how much is he going to run? Maybe in an 82-game schedule where it's condensed, maybe he does run a little bit more. It's possible. So, it's hard to argue against Trout and Acuna. These three are all really close. I just think Yelich deserves more consideration to be that top pick, and I don't think a lot of people have been given him his due.
Well, would anyone here take Acuna 1?
Yeah, I mean, I would. I would consider it. I think it's close.
Number 1?
Yeah.
The
guy's got, I mean, you look what he did in the second half with the stolen bases,
Yeah.
The only thing you worry about with him is the average. He's probably not going to give you the average that Trout and Yelich can give you.
The average and the fact he's only done it for 1 year. And then, are you not concerned at all about him playing the Yankees? And the fact that if they're playing with the DH, maybe they'll steal a little less. They'll have to manufacture less runs. It's a different kind of game. I don't know if those steals are going to be enough of an advantage.
I think he actually might run more with no pitcher.
Fensty, John, you guys want to chime in on this, or you just want to sit there looking all cute?
I mean, I'm still going Trout. I don't really want to get cute with it. I mean, he's the safest play on the board, in my opinion. So, if I have the number 1 pick, I'm going to go that route. It's a very low risk play. I don't, envision him having a down year. So, for me, I would still stick with Trout. But I obviously get the appeal with Acuna because he gives you the stolen bases and the home run upside, and he's the younger player. And I definitely understand Ronis' point as well, given how Yelich has played when healthy over the last few years. But I mean,
wait. Yelich when healthy? Do you realize Trout has missed more games than Yelich over the last 3 years? Why are we not saying this about Trout? Trout's missed more games. Trout misses games every year. Why is he a lock to be healthy now?
It's a longer period of time that you've seen Trout be an A-level player. So, sure, over the last year, when Trout had that one injury that he missed all that time with, I think the larger sample size of Trout being the number 1 player in baseball is greater than Yelich, who's only done it for the last few years. So, for me, I'm still sticking with the safety net there of Trout.
No, my problem is you use the word safety with Trout when he's missed games in each of the last 3 years, more than Yelich. So you can't use the safety with Trout. Right. I'm not diminishing what Trout has done. Again, it's hard to argue against all these guys because if Trout stays healthy the whole year, he could easily be the number 1 player. No question about it. I think the concern with Trout is the injuries, which kind of people gloss over. I mean, you got to look at the facts. He's missed games, and how much is Trout going to run? That's the big thing. That's why people are going Acuna, because they see the stolen bases, and that's the category that has been very difficult to fill, and they're overlooking the average because Acuna can hit 270. Trout can hit 320. Yelich can hit 330.
330. And that's the thing. When you're averaging, when you're playing in a roto league, there's a big difference between 270 and 330. 330 is going to pull you way up here in that category. And it's not so easy to go get hitters that hit for average and hit for power and have speed. So for me, I think Yelich is number 1, Trout number 2 right now. But it's tricky. Obviously, Trout is great. But I am more concerned about Trout's injuries than Yelich's.
Fensty, you got all word on any of this?
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not gonna talk over the argument. That would just make it sound too choppy. So I'm waiting for the deck to clear a little bit. Now it's cleared. I've just been going Trout, Yelich, and Acuna. That's how I've been going. But as you know, Howard, God never gives me the first overall pick in fantasy drafts. I can't tell you when the last time I've been in that position is. You remember it from the pie bet. I never got first pick. So I doubt I'll have to even face that this year.
Oh, there it is. Sad sack Fensty. And there you go. I mean, I guess we're just going to have to table that discussion. And it's kind of all the time that we've got for today. There's all sorts of stuff I wanted to talk about beyond that, including some of these awkward quarantine moments. How the hell do you get off of a Zoom meeting or a FaceTime meeting that's just gone on way too long? We'll finish it off on that note there. I want one good solid excuse that you've used that has worked to just get the hell off of that FaceTime, that awkward, I don't know, what else is going on with you? What else is going on with you? Fensty, I'm going to lead with you because you said the most about the Trout debate.
Very easy. Easiest question I could be asked. I got to take a dump. Got to be honest with you. Normally that's about it. I do my little wave.
Defecation. All right. All right. John, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, if it's one of those Zoom calls with like 8 of my friends, I usually just Irish goodbye it and just hit the end button and poof, I'm gone.
You Irish goodbye.
Jen, yours?
Man, if it's one-on-one, it's so awkward because how are you supposed to just be like, hey, I'm just tired of talking to you now? So usually it's something like, oh, yeah, I got to record a show with Fenster, or I got a live stream or pre-recording because nobody knows when we do that.
All right. Ronis?
I don't have a good answer. Fensty could tell you. I was on a call recently to 5:30 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, but you guys were naked.
No, we weren't naked. Not on this one. Oh. No, this was like some people that you know on this call. They actually tried to get you in the call.
Yeah,
you didn't
we tried inviting you.
Oh, I remember seeing that text. I'm so glad I didn't jump in on that.
Yeah, the sun was. I look out my window and the sun's coming up. I'm like, oh, what the hell? So I'm not good at this. I need excuses. So I guess I'll try I got to take a dump one next time.
Right. Well, that's the thing. That's what I use. I'm like, well, Fensty has to take a dump and I'm hiding out in his bathroom right now. So Lord knows none of us want to be in here at that point. That's going to do it for today's episode of Table That Discussion. We'll be back next week, of course, once again, where, I don't even know what we're going to talk about. We'll just see what the coronavirus world gives us, and we'll go from there. So for Justin Fensterman, Jon Impemba, the chef himself, Jen Piacenti, and Pornhub's finest, Adam Ronis, that's going to do it for us here today. Big thanks to Matt Sells, our producer, who's probably had to have us on mute because he's got 2 small children running around. Thanks so much for tuning in here for Fantasy Alarm TV. I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.